and we will start telling you what is the OnGea project and the OnGea tool and why we think it's useful for the Generation Europe project. And to get into it, we want to show you a short bit of what kind of work we normally do and why we needed this tool in the first place. Because we created it in a strategic partnership, Erasmus Plus, for youth work to use, but the need came from inside, because in our international network we felt we need something like this. So what do we do? Here is a short video from a youth exchange that we did last November. We had partners in various European countries and cities, including Centro di Creazione e Cultura from Italy, including Smooth, who are also in our partnership, including Subjective Values Foundation, I think.
Esther was here, but she's actually...
Okay. So we'll not show the full video, just the beginning to give you an impression of the work that we do there.
I have seen racism in many different aspects in front of my eyes. In my everyday life, in the hospital where I study, racism is everywhere and it has many different forms.
It's something that happens in the world and we have to do something about it.
Wir haben alles gut gepackt. Hat alles super funktioniert. Jana, wohin fahren wir nochmal?
Nach Balkan.
I think art has always been a good way to try to change things.
Art for me is like a tool that humans can use to understand things and to solve things.
It's been a long time since I saw
Roots and Roots brings people together. It brings artists together and makes them look beyond what they know.
The main idea of the project is that we bring together young artists from 7 countries who work jointly and with youth workers on the topics anti-discrimination, anti-racism, and then create artworks inspired by their discussions and experiences. We are really kind of away from civilization. We are in the middle of dunes, rabbits and wind.
I think for sure it's the circumstances that you have to face here, that it's like a test for yourself to see how you work with the others, for example, to see how you react with people in 2 weeks, how close you can get to them, what you are perceiving as information.
I'm really looking forward for this 2 weeks and I'm got a really good feeling with you.
the fact that everybody is here, that your body at this time and place is right here, that means that we all have a certain kind of commonality together.
In these days, it's more important than ever that we take the time and not being just creative, that we also kind of think about, okay, what can we do with our art, and maybe can we somehow reach other people to spread the word.
Feeling open, breathing.
Es finden Workshops statt mit den Jugendarbeiterinnen, die verschiedene Practices an die Hand kriegen.
Das Picasso-Spiel, das hat uns Jana beigebracht zur Gruppenbildung, Gruppenstärkung, einander kennenlernen. Die dürfen sich dann gegenseitig malen in verschiedenen Runden. Jeder malt dann einen Teil vom Gesicht.
Maybe we just catch on with the hair, but also the facial hair.
Und am Ende kommen da ganz lustige Bilder bei raus.
It's unique, I would say. The hair is really good.
That makes it a little less uncomfortable to get to know each other.
40 different people from different countries, from different backgrounds, and we just have to work together in order to give a message.
Wir geben heute hier als Team einen Workshop zum Thema Rassismus, Diskriminierung und wie kann man so etwas aufzeigen, welche Differenzen gibt es und auch in den unterschiedlichen Ländern, welche verschiedenen Zugänge gibt es dazu.
I feel like this with this topic.
I feel like we have to let go of wanting to control everyone.
Be the best version of you can be, and give the people love and treat them right, and like even if it's just 1 out of 1,000, you have reached one person, and that's the thing.
Yeah, I got it. So I spoke about that with my group yesterday, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So yeah.
Come on, man, we're not that.
So basically, I think that curiosity makes us better, no? I think that the keys for the future of the future generation is curiosity.
We need to focus on us. We need to focus on us and use the art to communicate. The art is here to share your feelings and share your point of view and your mind, and it's just another way not to talk but to do art.
Minorities are like a piece of cheese, and racism is the mouse. So let's be like the cat and fight the mouse.
Del volo, verde, virente, che diventa rosso. L'equilibrio non è che uno stato di coscienza.
Und jetzt seit einigen Tagen sind wir jeden Tag damit beschäftigt, unsere Projekte zu planen, umzusetzen und zu filmen, Musik zu machen.
Artworks inspired by their discussions and experiences, performances, music pieces, short movies, artworks that send a message in the world against racism and discrimination.
bad moment or those kind of things, had this feeling, no, of I will leave everything. I just want to leave my roots or whatever and leave them behind. But then, I mean, you're fucked up totally. You're fucked up, bro.
Azione!
He brings a box full of little objects that are a symbol of his past life.
Yes, I'm really touched, and I think it's a pleasure for you to work on it. Okay.
Now think girl, pause.
Move girl, twist, turn, pose.
Move girl, twist, turn, pose.
Bisschen atmosphärischer. Ja, vielleicht wird eine Equalisation weniger Low Frequency.
I gave all that I had.
Okay, very good. Your identity and what you're thinking is in your mouth and get it to that microphone. There's no more important relationship.
Try to pick the prettiest colors to dance around me through the water.
Can I ask that? Because otherwise, like this, yes, as a picture. But people are coming in and you split them. There should be some, I already told you, should be someone behind them and say, now you can sit together if you like to, sit together.
Yeah. If you have a good cause and someone to show you the way as we had the coaches, it's really good. The result can be perfect, really.
I don't believe she was thinking about a way I should be.
On Monday night we will have a presentation / performance at Urania Theatre. There the results from Baltrum will be screened and performed live.
It's really amazing, but what you can do in like 1 week.
We are at Urania Theatre in Cold, right? Yes, we are.
For the time that we've had, at least we have the opportunity to shine a little light on the subject matter.
Make sure that you sit somewhere where you can get off and on easily.
I do believe that the work that we've done has the potential to touch people.
Don't freak out with all these things that are happening, and spread the love. Don't hate each other.
Thank you for everything. It was awesome.
This is going to be such a weird documentary. I want to see it so bad.
So much for the beginning. So as you see, what probably many of you do and what all of us will do in the Generation Europe project is something we did here also. We organize mobilities. We have people coming from different places all over Europe, traveling, arriving in Cologne, getting in a group bus, traveling to the North Sea, getting on a ferry, walking to a house, living there. We have to cook food for those people, so lots of things to organize. And we're doing this a lot since, I think, 2003, exchanges of this kind, many of them Erasmus Plus funded. And we noticed that there are some kinds of logistical things and works we have to do that happen a lot and that could be simplified to make our life easier, so we can spend more time hugging the pig and less time at our computers. So we came up with this project, OnGea, Online Gear Enhancing Youth Work, to provide tools for mainly international youth work, but can also work locally. So, what is this tool? And where does the name come from? OnGea is a Swahili word. It means to talk, speak, chat, communicate. OnGea is infinitive, or if you say, speak up, talk, then it's also OnGea. So we thought this would be a good title for this one. And there's like 3 basic ideas, principles that we have in there. We have mobilities from one place to another place. We have communication between people. We have a network of organizations that exchange participants, that organize mobilities. And in case of Generation Europe, this image is also extremely suitable because we have here networks of always 3 organizations that do exchanges, of course embedded in the bigger network of Generation Europe. So from these elements, the logo also was developed. We have those bubbles that are communication bubbles, but that are also like on a map location things, and we have the network aspect in the circular structure. So why do we do this? Several organizations got together around 2005 to form the Roots and Roots network, including Centro di Creazione Cultura, Smooth, Subjective, who are all also involved here. And we have done, I counted more than 100 in this network activities where we are sending people somewhere. Sometimes it's a seminar for youth workers, sometimes it's a classical youth exchange, sometimes it's a kind of high-level artistic residency for young artists, different formats, but always the same thing. There's organizations sending, organizations hosting. So we found that there are some administrative things that we want to make easier, and we wanted to give participants a mobile app that they can use to get information. And we had a multilingual website that we had developed in 2007-8, and it was the hot shit at that time. But of course, over the years, it didn't work well anymore. It didn't work well on smartphones and tablets. You could only embed Flash video, which wouldn't play on Apple devices. So we thought, okay, we use this also to update the website system to have something easily to use, multilingual, up to date to current standards in the digital world. And we wanted to link all these in one coherent system that would be open source, so everyone can use it for free, and everyone who knows a bit about programming, like PHP, HTML, CSS, can also modify it and adapt it to their needs. So, for whom is OnGea? We think, of course, it's for you. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here with us, and otherwise, Katharina wouldn't have invited us with this project. So we see different target groups who might find the system useful. Networks doing key action 1 youth exchanges. This is what we have here. Hosts of Erasmus Plus mobilities, hosts of summer camps, but also others like small festivals, adult education, informal groups doing something like a role-playing convention maybe or something. Everyone who does kind of mobilities, national, international, and has to organize their participants can benefit from it. So, we have always the situation, here we have international network, can also be a national partnership or something. We have sending organizations sending participants to a host. So what can international networks do? They can share one multilingual installation of the system. So not every one of you will need to install it on a server or something. We can have it centralized somewhere where IBB thinks it's good, and can adapt the installation to their needs. I come to that a bit later. There are different modules, and there's 3 modules, and one we will definitely use and need in Generation Europe. The other 2 are optional. You can decide whether it makes sense in your partnership or not to use them also. So you can use this tool to manage participants. As a sending organization, you can decide, you can use an online sign-up form if that makes sense for you. So participants can fill that form with their data, and then you can approve them and say, yes, I want to send this person to the exchange in Estonia. Or you can say, there's, my guys in the office are doing this, people are handing in their application on paper, or we know whom we send because we always work with these kids, so we just have somebody sitting in the office putting their data. Works also, so different participants intake procedures are possible. You also, if you want to use an online sign-up form, you don't need to use it in the OnGea system, but you can also like copy a code snippet, like when you embed a YouTube video, take that code snippet, put it on your website, and then you have the sign-up form on your own old website and can use it there. You can, as a sending organization, you can easily bundle your information and send it to the host. So they know, okay, these 5 persons are coming, 3 of them are vegetarians, 1 is even vegan, and this is their age and stuff like that. 1 arrives a day later. All of these logistical informations that you have to deal with in international exchanges. You can reuse profile data, so like if we have 3 years of Generation Europe and the same people travel first to Italy, then to Belgium, then to Belarus, then you don't have to enter, or they don't have to enter their data again and again, but it's in the system and can be reused there. And of course, it's there in a way that is data protection compliant. Sending organizations, if they book the travels, which I guess most of the time will happen, then they can communicate through the system the travel data easily, both to participants and to the host. And if you decide to use the mobile app for your participants, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can also remind participants through the app of things. Like you can tell them, please take a photo of your boarding cards from the flight, because our experience is boarding cards always get lost. Sometimes already on the way from the airport to the camp, the boarding card is lost. So if 10 minutes after arrival they get a message in their app, please take a photo of your boarding card, this can really help. What can participants do? You can decide to use this system only administrational, but if you want to involve your participants, you can give them access to the app. And the app is run on Android and iOS phones, so the most common standards are covered. They can get information about projects, can sign up, can log in to edit their data. last year I was vegetarian, but now I'm a vegan, so they can change that. They can receive travel information, which is not so important if they travel with a group leader, but maybe there's one person that comes later than all the others and travels alone or stuff, then this information can also be in the app. And then the activity staff can always send announcements to all the app users, like tell them, we did this sometimes with WhatsApp groups, but in a WhatsApp group everybody can send, and then you have you can have lots of messages from everybody, and here, if the team sends a message, it pops up as something coming from the team. Dear all, today, sorry, lunch is shifted for 1 hour because the kitchen burned the first food, so they have to cook new food. So urgent updates like this can be sent as a push message to the participants. So as a host organization, you can customize the sign-up form, because there's this new EU General Data Protection Regulations. You should not ask for information that you don't need. Like, do you need to know the gender of your participants? If you put them in mixed rooms separated by gender, yes, then you have to ask for gender. If not, maybe you shouldn't ask for it. So you can really check as a host. There's 30 items that you can put in the sign-up form. Which ones do we actually need? Do we need to know an emergency contact, yes or no? Do we need to know about food requirements? Or do we have a la carte catering anyhow, and everyone can choose at each? However, you can say what should be in there. You always can see how many participants are there already from the partners. Do they have their groups together, or are there still people missing? Maybe one partner didn't put in any participants at all yet, so you have to remind him, well, we need to know about the group because we have to fix accommodation or something. And the thing that we really wanted, because this has always been a horror for us, is we wanted to easily export lists. Like, we want a list, Erasmus compatible list for signatures. We have the participant data, we just click, it gives us the list. We want a list for the kitchen that says, okay, lunch on Monday, there will be 25 people eating, 5 of them are vegetarians, 3 are vegans, 2 don't eat pork, and PS, out of the 5 vegetarians, 1 is intolerant to gluten. So this kind of lists you can just export. Accommodation lists also, how many people are sleeping in what room. Also, very important, the reason why Katharina likes this project so much is you can export a sheet, like an Excel sheet in CSV format, and that you can import directly into the EU mobility tool that is needed for Erasmus Plus reporting. Who of you have already used the Erasmus Plus mobility tool? So how did you feel about it?
I was full of hate.
Katharina was full of hate. So it's a bit complicated to put things in there, and we hope that our system will simplify that, because you have your participant data, you need them anyhow for the list and everything, you have them in the system, and then you can just export them for the mobility tool. There's only like one manual step that you still have to do to adapt it to that, and then you're good to go. And it should save you about at least a day of work per exchange. Questions so far? So, how does this beautiful thing work? Or how will it work once it's ready? Because as always with software development, it's not 100% ready yet, but our project funding ends in October, so by then we will have to have it ready. So there is a system core that is on one server or one web space. So if you have a network, you should use one centralized spot for this, because you have to exchange data and stuff. And of course, it's good if you have that in a country with good data protection regulations, so it's okay for all partners. And on this server, there's a database where everything goes in and out, but We have data protection, so not everybody can access every data. But, like there are access rights for different organizations. So we have different target groups that we are addressing here. We have participants, like young people coming to our youth exchanges, but can also be adult professionals coming to Evoca training, not Evoca, it's Generation Europe, who coming to a Generation Europe training in Weimar next spring. We have the sending organizations, we have the host organizations, and we have the public, which we might want to address also, but we don't have to. For this we have different components in the system. So one is this is the thing that you all will have to use unless you organize a revolution and tell Katharina, this system is shit, let's use something else. But if you agree, then this will be the system we will all use to put in the participant data and to create the reports for the Erasmus Plus mobility tool that we have to create anyhow. So this is the administrational tool, exchanging participant data maybe. Then there is a mobile app. As I said, Android phones, Apple phones both work. This is mainly for participants who are coming for an exchange project. And last one is the OnGea website channel. So this is something which is completely optional. You can think of if you want to use that or not. This is something you can use to show your project to the public. It's like a bit like WordPress or something, just a simple system to make a website, multilingual, and you can easily put information that you have in the system anyhow. Like if you have a description of your activity in there for your participants, you can also say show it on the channel, and bams, it will be visible on the channel. So it's quite easy to use, but if you have a good website that does the job, then you don't need to use it. So these channels can, from the same system, there can be one channel for each organization. If you want to, each channel can have a slightly different design, colors, logos, different domain, different choice of languages. Like Italy could have Italian and English, Belgium could have Dutch, French and English, Germany, German and English, so each of these channels can have their own language selection. And content also, you can always say, this is a news that we want to publish, and we want to publish it on the Italian and the German channel, but it actually has nothing to do with the Belgian partners, so we don't publish this news on the Belgian channel. So then we have a mobile app. Participants can sign up for an activity in case you want to do it that way, or you sign them up and just give them a login to get into their mobility information for this project. And then the organization, the host organization, can put in like schedules, what happens on what day, can put in maps, announcements, or not. You're always free to say, we don't want to use this, we want to give them the schedule on paper, it's better, also fine. The good thing about the digital version is that you can always have schedule updates and changes, and they are updated then on everybody's phone. Which of course requires that there's some kind of Wi-Fi or some way of connecting. So if you have an activity, like your first Generation Europe exchange this autumn, you have these different groups, you have participants, you have two sending organizations, one host organization. What happens? Hosts will put in some information about the project. Participants can sign up, or you sign them up. And the sending organization can put in information about like when will they travel. Also, if the participants don't sign up themselves, of course the sending organization needs to put in their information. The host organization gets all those nice export lists which make life easier and which makes it easier to communicate to your kitchen crew or your caterer or whatever, how many people will eat what on which day. And if you want, you can use the channel to present results to the public. You can also embed YouTube videos there and photos and stuff. So how many, there have been some who said they've already worked with the Erasmus Plus mobility tool. How many of you have been involved in organizing Erasmus Plus exchanges at all? So maybe about half or 60%, so not everybody. So in the logic of Erasmus Plus, we adapted this tool a bit to the logic of Erasmus. And so there's, in their logic, there's a project, which means a project is a funded thing. It lasts maybe for half a year or for 2 years. And within this project, there's different activities. An activity in this terminology always means something like here, a social situation, people come together, start date, end date. So in one project there can be one activity or 3 or 20. Within the activity you can make events. This can be something like meals or also like program, plenary meeting, workshops. And then you can, if you have a person who wants to join this project, that person will first make a profile in the system, and then once she becomes a participant, so she goes to the exchange in Denmark, then a mobility is created. In Erasmus Plus language, mobility always means the travel of one person to somehow educational activity and back. This is a mobility. So if you do a youth exchange with 27 persons, you have 27 mobilities in there. So now we have here the mobility of participant Jane Doe, and in the OnGea system, you can now link her to the different events on the schedule. Normally this happens automatically, Jane Doe will be linked to everything. But maybe she comes 2 days later, then you can go in manually and say, okay, she will not participate in the first breakfasts and overnight stays. Or maybe at a conference like this, you want people to choose in advance. Do they want to go to the music workshop, dance workshop, or to the video making workshop? And then you can ask them also in the app to choose. But only if you want. If you want to keep it simple, participants don't do anything, everything is assigned automatic, and only if someone doesn't join certain meals, maybe you can take them out there, so that in the end you get a list of the correct data who is there at what time. We call this stays, so the connection between the events in your program and one person, that's the stays. And then you can export a lot of beautiful lists that make your life easier. You can even put out a list to make the youth pass, you know, this certificate that Erasmus Plus wants you to give to all your participants. It's like a nice certificate sheet saying this person actually was here and learned something. And with this tool you can just upload it and generate them automatically. Of course, if you want to write something which you can but don't have to, if you write something deep about what exactly did that person learn, you have to do that manually, because artificial intelligence isn't that intelligent yet. But the standard certificates you can just export. How much time do we still have?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, so yeah, I'll skip the timeline. You can, of course, you will get the link to the PowerPoint later, so you can have a look of your own. So here's a timeline of in what order you do things with the system, if you want to. And we have different scenarios. Maybe you can look at the youth exchange only, not at the other ones. So in this case, International Summer Camp, I want a project website in all the languages of the partner organizations, and I want that participants can sign up there. I want that if they sign up there online, first their sending organization approves them and says, yes, this person can really go. We know that person, we think it's good to send him or her there. I want to send them information about their schedule and maybe about their travel on an app. And in the end, I want to generate signature lists and a mobility tool report. So this all works if you use the various OnGea tools. Then we have more scenarios. Some things don't work because, like evaluation of a project is something that was a requested feature. We developed this whole thing in contact with partners who do exchanges, so there were lots of feature requests. And this one, we said, okay, you can do this already very well with Google Forms, so maybe at some time it will be in, but not now. So how to get OnGea and what will it cost me? This is not a problem for you at all because there will be a centralized installation and all of you can use it. If you want to use it for other projects, of course you can get it for free, it's open source. You just need a server or a web space that fulfills certain technical requirements, like you need to have a database there. Then you can just install it and run it, or you can also rent a pre-installed version. If you ever need it, check it out, it's possible. So our scheduled release date of the final system is August 30th. It will be a very narrow, tight fit to make it to that date. Our reporting deadline is October 30th, so by then, the latest, it has to be ready, or we will all be bankrupt in the network because we have to pay lots of money back to the Erasmus Plus funding if they say the project is shit and give us an evaluation with low points. So by October, end of October, we will definitely have it up and running.
Did you say the languages already?
The languages we have so far include English, German, Italian, Greek, Spanish, and Catalan, Hungarian, French, Romanian, Dutch, and one more.
Lithuanian.
Lithuanian, yes. So if you want to invest some, like, if you want to invest, I think it's like 2 days of work, you can also translate the complete language sheet to your language. Then the system will be available in Estonian, Belarus, whatever. It's just a Google sheet where on one side you see all the English terms, then there's an explanation for translators, and then you fill the other one, and then you have the complete system in that language. I'll show you how it will look. So this is how you get into the system. It's still like a preview, it's not really done. But here you can change the language. And then you have the German version or you have the Italian version. You see it still says add new project, so it's not 100% implemented yet, but it will be. And then you can work with the projects, put in information like what's the title of the project, when does it start and end, is it Erasmus Plus funded, what's the grant agreement number, because this will be needed in the end for the reporting Excel file that's exported. And then you can add different information like about the funders, about the activities in the project, about the participants. That's about the basics what OnGea does. So the idea was in Generation Europe that we will use it mainly for the reporting in the EU mobility tool, which we have to do anyhow. So all of you would put your participant data in there, and then in the end you can just generate the reporting file. In case you get exceptional costs, you know, some apply for exceptional costs for like trainers to work with young people with special requirements or with fewer access chances. Then you also have to put these amounts in there. All other amounts in Erasmus Plus are calculated flat rate based, but it's very important that you get an idea how this Erasmus Plus funding works, and that you put the right numbers in there, because right numbers means more money. Wrong numbers can mean cuts. But it's already explained quite well there what it means. So it says like you can put in a number of travel days. This is only if you have days where you travel and don't have program or things like that. And these are the numbers that need to be correct in the end, so you get the maximum possible Erasmus Plus money. And of course, if you have questions, you can always contact Jana and me, and we will try to solve that with you.
It's amazing. I'm so looking forward to use it.
Thanks. Let's hope it will work as good as we planned.
And now thanks for listening, and for me it's always sometimes abstract, but I think it gets really clear when you go through it and when it's working on real, and then it's really easy. I think everybody who already worked with Erasmus Plus can kind of understand it a bit more, but I think also for the others you will be quite easily get into it, for sure. Now it's lunchtime actually, and just to let you know, because Sasha and me, we are leaving after lunch, so if you have some questions about that, just contact us during lunch. We are open for that, because we don't have time for questions right now.
And I just want to add that, as Sasha said, we will do the Generation Europe Erasmus Plus accounting by that, and we will also provide you a sheet for each partnership, what kind of costs you have to fill in. You will get like one information sheet from us. There is written like if you had travel days, how many participants you had, if you had extraordinary costs, so that you know exactly what you have to fill in there, because I know it was a confusing process with all this application, so you will know that. Yeah, and if you have, by the way, Sasha was so nice, and Jana, they said that you can always call them. If you have questions about the accounting, you can also call me, but of course you can also call Sasha and Jana if you have questions about accounting rules and stuff.
Only if you have really questions connected to how to use the OnGea tool. Then call us. Accounting questions, Katharina knows so much more about this than me.
Well, damn, I thought I could give you a bit of mine. Okay.
Did everybody sign our beautiful participant list? Because this actually was our first multiplier event.
I want to sign it.
There will be a second multiplier event on August 30th. There will also be multiplier events in many of the countries that we mentioned. So if you live in Hungary or in France, you can also go there and get another introduction, but it will be similar, I think, like here, just a bit longer.
And one addition, as you might have seen it, we have recorded the presentation, so you can later see it again. And one other thing, please don't forget to check in for your flights. And we got a message from Wizz Air about the airport in Dortmund. I think Heli is flying from Dortmund. So that you should be really early, because a lot of people are traveling, so they say you should be there 2 hours before the flight. Just a reminder. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Lunchtime.
Lunchtime, food.
And in 1 hour.